Do you know why some brands seem to have hundreds of influencers promoting them all the time, but you're maybe struggling to get results? A lot of it comes down to understanding this one basic psychological principle that I'm going to share with you in this video, and then you're just going to crack all your influencer relationships because you understand the dynamics of the program. So the answers to the surface level questions, like how much to pay influencers, how should you motivate them to post, things like that become very, very obvious, right? I'm the founder and CEO at SARAL. We work with over 250 brands, real time. We have the data for everyone, and we just know that the brands that leverage this principle, maybe explicitly they know this and they leverage it, or just implicitly they're just so good at building relationships that they naturally do this. I'm just gonna flesh out the principle for you, let you see it for what it is, so that you can start leveraging the same principle in your interactions with influencers and start getting hundreds and hundreds of influencer posts. Let's dive in. The psychology concept or principle that I'm talking about, it's actually a model of behavior called the BJ Fogg behavior model. Obviously, BJ Fogg, this guy's a scientist, very smart man. He came up with this principle so that we could build influencer relationships and start scaling our e-commerce brand. So what does that principle say, right? It's very simple. Behavior is a consequence of three things. Behavior is a consequence of the motivation, the ability, and a prompt. Again, let me summarize that. Behavior is caused by motivation to do that behavior, the ability to execute the actions that lead to the behavior, and a prompt that prompts the activity. How does this all apply to influencers? Our goal as influencer marketers is to drive certain behavior from creators, right? Which behavior do we want to drive from influencers? We want them to post about us, right? Fundamentally, that's what we want. But even on a micro level, we want them to open our emails. We want them to read our emails. We want them to respond to our emails. We want them to accept our product. We want them to like our product. We want them to post about us. We want them to share an affiliate link and a discount code, and so on and so forth, right? All of these things are behaviors that we want to drive. So it only makes sense as brands that we should understand these behaviors. If we can put all of this under the category of a behavior, as marketers, it's important for us to understand how can we break these desired behaviors that we want into motivation, ability, and prompts. Now you have it broken down, you have a set of tasks, you just execute them, and the behavior happens as a natural consequence. So instead of worrying about, hey, how do I get influencers to post about us, understand what constitutes a post. What do they have to do? What motivations do they have to have? What ability do they have to have? And what sort of prompt do they need to have to actually make the post happen? And once you just break it down and understand it that way, it's very, very simple to get the posts from influencers, right? So let's dive into the very first thing, the M. So the model is behavior is equal to MAP. Step one, what motivates influencers? You have to make it a no-brainer for influencers to work with you. You have to make sure that your offer is very compelling. Again, I keep talking about the compelling creator offer, right? Make a compelling offer. Make sure that you're doing everything possible to motivate them. Let's say, for instance, more money would be a motivator. Association with a brand that they really identify with can be a motivator. Association with a brand that is a status symbol. Like you think if Gucci reaches out to an influencer, they're gonna have troubles with pricing or anything? No, they're gonna probably even work for a free product. Or if freaking Rolex reaches out to a fashion YouTuber, you think they're gonna say, hey, no, I can't do it if you don't pay me $500 extra? Of course not, because they want to associate with that brand. So that's a motivation. Right? So money is a motivation. Association in terms of values, association in terms of status is a motivation. There can be a lot of these motivations. So what motivation can you leverage? Do you have money on your side? Do you have a huge margin on your side, in which case, which means you can do a large affiliate payout? Do you have very interesting values? Like, are you non-profit? Are you a vegan brand? Thing like that people want to associate with. What do you have going for you? Figure that out and make sure that you're incorporating things like this into your influencer offer. I highly recommend don't make the motivation purely monetary. Make sure that you're including perks, including some of these other associations, so that influencers are actually motivated to post about you. Make sure you pay attention to your creator offer and use this line of thinking about motivation and what would motivate the type of creator that you want to work with. What motivates, let's say, a vegan influencer is very different from what motivates a skincare influencer. So make sure you actually sit with your team, brainstorm, and come up with a compelling creator offer to solve for the first piece of the equation, which is the motivation. The next piece of the equation is ability. And again, I keep talking about this in the tactical videos, but this is more of like a psychological video. So we need to understand that influencers are busy. Like if you reach out to anybody with 15, 20k followers even, they have brands reaching out to them all the time. There's dozens of brands that reach out to them every single month. Why would they post about you? Even if they like your product, they probably don't have the time to post about you because there's so many products that they get. Imagine you're an influencer with 25,000 followers. Worst case scenario, you get like 10 products every month. Imagine like if you're posting once a day, that is 1/3 of your posts being product. Obviously, you don't want to do that, even if you like the product, right? So you're going to prioritize. Which ones are you going to prioritize? You're going to prioritize the one, of course, let's go back to part one, that you're motivated the most to post about. And second, that are the easiest to post about. To make it brain dead simple for them, your job is to remove any friction, any barrier barriers from the process of posting. What does that mean? Basically, think along the lines of how can I make it very, very simple for this influencer to post, even if they're busy, even if they have like 15 other products to post about, they should post about our product. How do I make that happen? How do I make it really, really simple for them? How do I solve for the second ability part of the BJ Fogg behavior model, right? So you solve for that. The most brands, even if you have a great creator offer, creators are busy. They're not going to post about you unless you're like just paying them up front and have some sort of a contract. So having this line of thought where you're thinking, hey, how can we make life easier for the creator goes a long way. It's going to impress creators and they're just going to post just by virtue of giving you a thanks for putting in so much thought into your influencer program. And then last but not the least is a prompt. You may have the motivation to do something. You may have the ability to do something. But unless there is a prompt, unless there is an alarm clock, you may have the motivation to wake up and work out at 5 a.m. You may have the ability to do that because you have 2 hands and 2 legs. But if there's no alarm clock, probably just gonna keep sleeping. So unless you're David Goggins or someone like that, or me who doesn't sleep. But what you should do is you should always prompt your influencers to post about you or to do any behavior that you want them to do. Right? Usually post. When they receive product, you should follow up with them, ask them for feedback, share creative guidelines, make sure that they know that there are creative guidelines, right? Add social proof from other creators, add them to some sort of an onboarding campaign. Again, if you're using SARAL, you can set up a Klaviyo integration or a SendLane integration and you're able to send them a newsletter from whichever ESP that you're using. Do personalized outreach, get into their DMs, tag them in a post, get their phone number, give them a call, hop on a Zoom, prompt them to do the behavior that you want, because even if they're motivated, even if they have the ability and you've made it as easy as possible, maybe they just forget. Your brand is like not even in the top 10 list of a new creator, right? They have like their own problems, life problems, business problems, freaking not getting enough engagement problems, and then like maybe at the end of that list of 50 problems is your brand that they want to post about. If you want to keep prompting them, you're not spamming if you do it thoughtfully, right? Just do it with taste, do it with intention to build a partnership, and you're not going to bother them a lot, right? So make sure you remind them to post. What did we learn? We learned the BJ Fogg behavior model made by a very, very smart scientist so we could scale our e-com brands. Behavior is a consequence of motivation, ability, and a prompt. Make sure that you're taking care of all of these things in the tactics that you do in your influencer program to make it as easy as possible for that behavior to happen, which is influencers posting and bringing you revenue. I hope this makes sense when you approach it this way. We've seen it. I've shared this on personal one-on-one Zoom calls with a lot of brands, and influencers are just excited to work with you. They like working with you. Even like over larger brands, they give you free shout outs. A lot of nice things start happening. So please start doing this. And if this was at all helpful, please share this video, leave a comment if you have any questions. Get started with SARAL. There's a link in the description to book a call with my team. Until next time.